maybe, just maybe, we could stop complaining about 25 million a year instead of 30 million a year, because in all reality, some people don't even have jobs. Major League Baseball is slated to return in what appears to be a 60 game season. I'm going to run you through all the facts, exactly how it's going to play off, or how it's going to play out, how the playoffs are going to play out, and most importantly, above all else, why everybody except the Yankees suck. This is going to be your MLB returning to the season view, or a video, everything that you need to see. Stay right here. Major League Baseball is coming back. The negotiations between the MLB and the players were literally probably some of the toughest negotiations, but somehow, some way, the Major League Baseball is going to attempt to make it work. There is going to be a 60-game season this year for Major League Baseball, but with a 60-game season, there's a lot that goes into tact, records, statistics, obviously the virus which has caused all of this mess. We're going to talk about all of this right here, but before we do any of that, I have to urge each and every one of you to subscribe. If you are watching this and you are not subscribed, shame on you. Not only that, we do sports reviews. We talk about Major League news. We talk about news inside and around the NFL. During the NFL season, we do weekly reviews. And each and every one of those weekly reviews, I try to do some kind of humorous-like intro that is relevant to that week of football. We do NFL news as it comes and goes. We do a lot of wrestling things on here. We review every single pay-per-view, talk about major news in and around the professional wrestling community. Not only that, we also do NBA news. The NBA is coming back as well, so assume that in the next couple of weeks there's going to be a lot of NBA videos coming out. But Major League Baseball is kind of something that we just really haven't touched the head on, and that's something that we're going to talk about here. Major League Baseball has announced that it is officially coming back. This right here is on here are very good questions. This is from ESPN.com. This article is about 2 days old, but it talks about everything that's going on within baseball. And I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on it as we roll in here. Now, these are the quick facts. These are not so much quick facts because it's going for me to tell you basically what's going to work here. So the major fact is the number of games. There's going to be 60 games this season. Opening day is slated to take place around July 24th. That obviously can mean July 25th or July 23rd, but somewhere around that last week of July is when we're expected to see baseball. Spring training, July 1st, MLB asked the MLBPA on Monday whether players will be able to report to training in their respective cities within 7 days by July 1st. As far as where spring training is, I don't know if we have full details on that's come out yet, but July 1st is the day where spring training is going to start. So we got about a little over a week before we can expect spring training in baseball, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how many teams are going to make the playoffs. ESPN states there's going to be 10 teams that make the playoffs this year in the MLB, and that seems very low, but I'm trying to think about it this way. You have 8 division winners and 2 wild card winners, where you typically have 8 division winners, 4 in the American League, 4 in the National League, and then you have 4 wildcard teams, with the 2 wildcard teams in each respective conference playing each other to advance. Now it seems as if we're probably going to just have 2 wildcard teams, which makes every game that much more important, and that's another thing about 60 games in a Major League Baseball season. It makes every game that much more important. Salary structure, full pro ratio, which for 60 games means that players will earn around 37% of their full season salary as long as the truncated schedule is completed. So from what I'm told, I believe that means that the players are going to make their exact salary, but they're not going to make it in full. They're just going to make salary based off of the games they play. So they're going to get paid for 60 games of the season, which seems very fair. As far as the pay rate, from what I'm told, they're getting paid the same, but obviously it's not completely, where if, players, I don't know how MLB checks work. I don't think it's game checks. I think they get paid weekly. And they just sum that up. That's another good question. For those of you out there that are big into baseball, and maybe some of you play, who knows who the hell's watching this, if they get paid after every game or they get paid every week per every 7 games, I don't know exactly that, but obviously you play 7 games, you're getting paid for 7 games. So these players are going to be paid for 60 games. As per what they're getting paid, I don't know if they're getting the same exact salary. I'm gonna assume that it is based on what this says. Now it's basically talking about here, how will baseball work? There's what makes a 60-game season work and what will be the biggest challenges. The biggest challenges revolve around the health of the players. That includes the virus concerns as well as normal baseball injuries. An oblique injury could keep a player out for 4 to 8 weeks or longer. That's nearly the entire season. Will guys push themselves to get back early or be cautious while thinking of their future? Both may be true, as every player will come at the shortened season with a different perspective. The good news is veteran pitchers, especially starters, won't have to hold anything back for the stretch run. The stretch run starts right away. If guys are in shape, we should see the best of what they have. That's a very good point as well. I didn't think of that. I didn't think of the injuries as well. A guy gets hurt 4 to 8 weeks. Let's say a guy gets hurt late April, early May, 4 to 8 weeks. A guy, pitcher, whatever, something with his elbow, and he's out for 3-4 months. You don't have that luxury now. So it's going to mean that he's done for the season. But players also have to be cautious because a lot of them are so willing to play. And are they going to, if it's a 3-week injury and there's only a week left of the season, are they going to try to rush back? That's one of the things that they got to be careful for, that a lot of people don't tend to think about, is the rate of injury recovery and the speed of that. What's next now that the season schedule is being implemented? Spring training 2.0, that will start in about a week. The commissioners asked about July 1st, as players will need to travel to their home cities if they aren't in them already. Some will need to find housing, undoubtedly on short leases, so a lot has to happen in a short period of time. Roster sizes, taxi squads, and new on-field rules for 2020 have come together, and fast. This does kind of spring together everything fast if you think about it. For me personally, I was thinking that the way the negotiations were going, I didn't think we were going to actually get a baseball season. But now that I think about it, all of these things that are going into factor here, the players have the money. I don't think financials is a problem, but again, they have to do all this in a short amount of time. They have to move, New York City. Now they have to find a hotel or some type of apartment leasing that they can work out within the next week, somewhere around Queens or just wherever that it is that they're playing. Does the commissioner taking these steps 100% mean there will be a 20 season? Unless the players go on strike, which is extremely unlikely, then yes, we will have a season. I don't see the players going on strike. They made their point. It seems we're finally going to have an agreement. But again, if there's anything you don't know about baseball, it's that this negotiations process was a pain in the ass. How might a grievance from the MLBPA affect the season? It shouldn't have any effect, as these things take a long time to resolve. We're talking years, which overlaps the looming talks for the CBA. What will the playoffs look like under this new format? That's interesting. This is going to explain it right here. There are a lot of questions on here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go over all of them. Let's see. With the end result of the futile talks about Manfred implanted season, we end up with the same playoff format as we had since the 2 wildcard systems was adopted in 2012. One of the things the union denied by adhering to the rules was the owners' wish for an expanded playoff format. Suffice to say, a mini season combined with a play-in game and a bracket that might be full of mediocre teams is not the ideal outcome. With a 16-team bracket, at least the unwieldy field would have improved the likelihood of baseball's best teams advancing to October. Of course, these teams could have been knocked out by a sub-500 team in a short series. Any way you slice it, if you proceed any kind of baseball playoff format with a mini-season, there isn't much competitive integrity to the proceedings. That's another thing. The playoff format, how does the format of the 60-game season benefit teams that are average? I was listening yesterday on ESPN to Mark Teixeira talk, and one of the things that he said was a young, hot team like the Chicago White Sox benefits from this. Because, again, you got to keep in mind, when you play 162 games, the teams that make the playoffs in the MLB damn sure deserve it. And the team that wins the World Series damn sure deserves it. You could have a team here that's average. You think about a team that starts off good, doesn't really finish well, the New York Mets. You think about a team like the Oakland A's, which are a very good team. Those type of teams, I think, are really going to benefit under this. The Cleveland Indians. I think about teams that are going to benefit from this 60-game schedule, and those are some of the teams that I think of. But it also gives the chance for very good teams to be ended like that. So it adds one of the things it does is it adds that factor. What about other big on-the-field changes? The union agreed to adopt the minor league rule for extra innings, beginning every half inning after the ninth with a runner on second base. The rule is set for only the regular season, and for now at least, the designated runner would be the person who made the final out in the prior half inning. The pitcher would not be charged with an earned run if the runner crosses home plate. It would be scored as if the runner reached via error. This is according to the USA Today. That's interesting. Didn't really think about that, the extra innings aspect of it. What would preseason camp start and where will teams train? Commissioners asked the union if to determine all players can report by July 1st. After a spate of positive tests last week, Manfred shut down spring training facilities in Arizona and Florida. Now teams will retreat to their home cities to conduct a rapid and uncertain second spring training. Roughly 3 weeks is expected to be the duration of the ramp-up period. Other teams on here. What about the recent spike in cases from MLB players? That's one of the things I want to talk about before I head on out of here. And I'm going to try again. The more I build my base, the longer I'm going to make these videos, and the better I'm going to make them. That's another thing. We are starting to notice that I've noticed there's a lot of players in and around sports that are starting to silently test for the virus and test positive. MLB particularly, I've noticed 4 players from the Phillies, 5 guys from this team. Charlie Blackmon from the Rockies just tested positive. This is not a good look because we didn't even get anything under sway yet. Doesn't mean it's going to spiral out of control, but we have noticed a bit of a spike increase in virus tests from MLB players. And it says here, with numbers spiking in about half the states across the country, the only tangible change in recent days was MLB's decision to shut down all spring training complexes in Florida. And Arizona teams will now train in their home cities while scrambling to put up a more formal universal system of protocols in place. The latest problem is not specific to baseball. What happens if the numbers return to a pattern of exponential spread? For now, baseball and the other sports have to proceed as if they're going to be able to play in a newly reopened country. However, the specter of the pandemic rendering all of these plans moods hangs over the sports world like a sword of Damocles, whatever that means. Number of positive tests coming to light of baseball the past few days. It's clear that they will be battling the pandemic as much as they have battled each other the past few months. Last but not least here, what do we know about the health and safety protocol? Obviously, with all of this going on, there has to be some kind of health and safety protocol that promotes the players. Again, the baseball team is a lot of people. Here's what we know. We'll find out what changes have been made to the MLB's original 67-page pitch if the players sign off on the policy over the next day or two. Among the key points of that initial plan, players and other team personnel not participating in the game would sit in the stands separated by at least 6 feet. That would apply the same distancing standards to the national anthem. That's a good approach. Again, you can't have everybody crowded in the dugout on top of each other. So sitting in the stands, it's going to be interesting. You know, hey look, it's Pete Alonso in the third row. You know, I'd be in the third row. My buddy my teammate would be in the first row. I'd be throwing paper airplanes at him and shit. What else here? So they have to do that. Celebratory contract is verboten. No high fives, fist bumps, or hugs. That sucks because there's nothing better than getting a high five after hitting a home run, especially, you know, heated up. You know, a guy's gonna get a walk off and they're all gonna be, you know, hey, congratulations. This guy's sitting over here in the third row. This guy's in the first row. This guy's eating popcorn with just some Joe Schmo. The grand tradition of gross habits is on hiatus. No spitting, chewing of tobacco, or sunflower seeds of any combination, therefore. So guys like A-Rod, who like to spit out 35 sunflower seeds per second, are not going to have that ability to do so anymore. I don't know how you know, these are just such basic traditions in baseball that so many people have acquired to. I don't really know how you stop that. How do you stop guys? You know, it just doesn't make too much sense. I mean, I understand it, of course. Minimal distance between base runners, fielders, coaches, and umpires. You will not be able to have a conversation about how your newly born daughter is doing with the second baseman while after you hit a double. Bat will be thrown out once it has been touched by multiple players. Makes sense. Post-game showers are discouraged. You will not be taking a bath in Gatorade. Your back will continue to stay sweaty, and you will not get sticky Gatorade on you after hitting a clutch home run. Post-game showers discouraged, as will be the use of taxis and ride shares. So it's like you're on a team with all your guys, but you can't really even interact with them. That kind of sucks. Players will be screened for temperature multiple times per day, tested for coronavirus multiple times per week. Anyone testing positive will be immediately quarantined. 2 negative tests will be required for a possible return. Absolutely. You got to stay on top of the testing. a lot of things other come into place. How many teams could this skin win? Is this guy hitting 400? What kind of statistics count? There's so much to go on, but I appreciate everybody watching. I just wanted to fill everybody in, just kind of on where the MLB looks like they're going with all of this. I definitely am looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting to see what we get from Major League Baseball. But again, I hope everybody stays safe and continues to make good decisions.